Here's the deal. I don't buy new cars, I don't pay them off, I don't deal with repair bills, and I also don't deal with negative equity. How? Carmax. But not how you think. This is the system I use. I buy clean depreciated cars from Carmax. I put the MaxCare ESP or extended service plan on them. I use the absolute crap out of it, and then I trade the car in right before the ESP expires, and then I repeat. Now, I've done this for the better part of a decade, and I've always kept 2 cars in rotation while doing this, and this has saved me thousands and kept me out of financial traps that the automotive industry is designed to literally put you right into. This system is also designed to kind of help me do exactly what I'm doing. Let's dive on in on how you can do this for yourself, why it's a good idea, and how literally anybody can take advantage of this massive loophole, and CarMax isn't going to stop you. A little background on me is I actually used to work for CarMax, so I'm very familiar with their entire reconditioning process as well as their internal policies. I also have a family member who worked for CarMax from the time that they were super tiny and started on the East Coast and developed and scaled all the way to the West Coast, probably 25, 30 years. So I'm very familiar with how CarMax operates, like probably more so than a lot of people who currently work there. So whenever it comes to gaming the system and understanding how all of this can work to your advantage, I feel like I'm probably pretty decently well versed and qualified to talk about it, but I do have to make the disclaimer that I am absolutely by no means a financial advisor. This isn't financial advice. What else am I supposed to say here? I don't know, I'm just sharing a system that's worked great for me. I'll show you and break it down, and you can decide for yourself if you want to utilize it, and you can also check me with like Chat GPT or whatever people are using these days to validate influencers, because there's a lot of idiots on TikTok that know nothing about financing cars, and don't listen to them. Please don't. Your very first step to exploiting this loophole is to find a clean but depreciated car from CarMax and purchase it. Pretty simple. Now this means the previous owner, the person who bought it brand new off the lot and got the very first fart in the front seat, they took the initial new car tax hit. They lost between 30 all the way up to 60% in some cases of the value of that car before they traded it in. So you don't get hit with that depreciation or negative equity right off the bat. Your next step is going to be to buy the MaxCare extended service plan for the vehicle. I love the MaxCare plans. In fact, we've utilized them on every single vehicle we've ever owned, and they've really come in handy. Like almost every single car, because I like to buy weird stuff that's known to break, it works. Now with this, you can get a $0 all the way up to I think a $500 deductible. I generally like to stay between 0 and 100 because I don't want to come out of pocket for repairs. It kind of defeats the entire purpose. With this, you drive the crap out of the car, you get it repaired on CarMax's dime. The only thing they don't cover is like your tires, your brake pads, and your wiper blades, your consumable items that they really couldn't control or the manufacturer couldn't control and the dealer's going to deny you anyways. From there, the moment that ESP is about to run out, trade the car in, sell it, dump it, get rid of it, and then rinse and repeat. Now, in CarMax's eyes, all you're doing is cycling cars. People do this at the dealer level all the time and at the used car level as well. But in reality, what you're doing is you're creating a rolling warranty bubble, and you're never going to be left holding the bag whenever expensive repairs do end up coming up. Before I give you an example of a truck that I'm actually looking at for myself, because my current vehicle is about to run out of its MaxCare, you need to understand that your 2 key pieces here that you're focused on are equity as well as risk exposure. The elements to that are buy a car after it's already had its big depreciation hit. This is generally 3 to 5 years for modern vehicles, and understanding the fact that manufacturers, let's look at Nissan and their Frontier, they had the same body style for 15 years on that truck. So it's likely not going to change. It's not going to look super old. It's not like it used to be. It's still a pretty new car. Your second one is going to be don't extend your loans way out. Don't go 84 or 86 or 92 or whatever crazy you can. Try to get somewhere around 5 years on your loan, because that's kind of the sweet spot with being able to not have a whole bunch of interest compiling, as well as the duration of a lot of those extended service plans and average mileage that people drive per year. That's kind of the range that I like to stay in personally, but you got to do what you got to do. Just don't go crazy, and also try to keep your credit in check. The next one is going to be purchasing that extended service plan. You don't want to be stuck with things like engines, turbochargers, suspension, all of these expensive and complex repairs, because let's face it, mechanics these days charge an arm and a leg, because all that's going to do is cost you money out of pocket that isn't going towards paying off that vehicle, and there's a whole cost per mile calculation that we can also do later in this video. With my current truck, a 2018 GMC Sierra that I did buy used from Carmax with the ESP, it's about to run out of its ESP, so I need to start considering trading it in and getting something different. Now I've had this truck now, I'm going on 4.5 years about, and yeah, it's time to dump it, time to get rid of it. I want to keep that warranty bubble alive. I'm also a homeowner. I've got all this other stuff going on with my business, Evo One Industries. Link down below in the description. You're supporting me, and I don't take outside sponsors. I need to trade this truck in. So, with that being said, one of the vehicles that I kind of been considering, because I've always wanted one, just never able to afford it until now, because I've rolled positive equity all these years, is going to be a Ford Raptor. Now, I like these trucks a lot, but they are very, very expensive. This truck being $95,000, I'm sure there's a bunch of dealer fees and all sorts of other stuff associated with that. Now the other vehicle I'm considering, because it doesn't look too different from it, this is also a V6 truck with the EcoBoost and twin turbos, is this 2018 Ford Raptor. It's $46,000, a lot cheaper. Now it does have 51,000 miles on it, but if I buy the MaxCare, I'm probably gonna be okay. So I can either spend 95, probably 98, close to 100 once I'm out the door, or I can spend Carmax's no haggle price. You are gonna have TT&L on here, as well as your ESP, but that's the price. So with these two, I did build out a spreadsheet here, and this is gonna kind of compare a little bit of what's gonna be going on. So you can see here, we have our purchase price. I did bring this one down on the new vehicle. Maybe you're able to go in there and work out a bunch of really just amazing deals, and you're just an expert negotiator, and maybe it's the end of the month, they're desperate to get it off the lot, right? Unlikely, but sure. Let's put $10,000 down on these cars. So here's your actual financed amount after you're down. And now on the Carmax Raptor, I did go ahead and put in here a 10% rate, which I've never had a rate that high, especially through Carmax Auto Finance, or CAF as I'll refer to in this video. And then let's pretend that somehow you got a 6% out of a dealer these days. Super unlikely, like maybe you're Jeff Bezos, I don't know. So we're gonna run a 5-year loan on these cars. This is gonna be your monthly payment right here. A lot cheaper with a used Raptor, and you still can say I drive a Raptor, so if you're after vanity, great. Here's your total interest. This is where it gets interesting. They're really not far off of each other. They're pretty dang close. Here's the other one, total payments over 5 years. Here's how much you're gonna end up spending. $50,000 versus $85,000. That's a pretty big swing. Extended warranty, you're not included on this one, and I will say from personal experience and people that I know in the industry, dealers don't like to honor warranties. They will look for every single excuse. I know that if you go into Carmax and let's say you did tune this truck or you put a Borla exhaust on it, they're gonna be fine with that. They're not gonna say much to you, especially if you're nice. If you go into the dealer, they're going to deny you every chance they possibly can. I mean, I've even heard of scenarios in which they will not honor warranties due to window tint and crazy stuff like that, or adding subwoofers, so be very, very careful with new car dealers. They don't like warranties. Now with this, your repair costs, it's a Ford Raptor. It's an EcoBoost. Just Google EcoBoost turbo problems. This truck will likely have those turbo problems somewhere around that 50,000 mile mark. Maybe the one I'm looking at has already had that done, but let's pretend I put 50,000 miles on it while I own it and take the truck up to 100. I'm gonna be covered because I've got MaxCare. Now from there, we've got all of our total cost with warranty, MaxCare on this truck. We've got our cost as far as the turbo replacement and everything else we're gonna have to do here. $53,940 versus $91,880. Of course, resale value on the newer truck, that's gonna be a little bit higher. It's just a newer vehicle. There's just a lot more there. So let's call this your positive equity, right? If you do keep the truck for that 5-year proposed term. Now depreciation, we can see right here, $33,000 coming off of this truck just for buying it brand new off the lot, versus this other one, that's not nearly as steep as far as that depreciation goes. We could ratio this out percentage-wise, but I don't really think it's worth our time to do that. Now, here we've got our net cost after resale. Pretty big difference there as well. This is the metric I like the most. This is the metric that to me matters significantly. This is going to be your cost per mile, as I like to break it down. Now, this isn't fuel economy like all of the big car magazines like to advertise. This is how much will this truck cost me based on average mileage and ownership and value and the money I have into it to drive per mile. You can amortize this any way you want, but with this 2019 Raptor, I'm at 72 cents per mile. With the 2025 Ford Raptor, I'm at $1.20 per mile. Pretty dang close to spending, what, 80% more per mile to drive a truck that is, what, a few years newer, 6 years newer? And I'm also in a way better spot because that's not going to hurt as much per month as this does. That's a lot more money per month that could be going towards a mortgage and paying off equity in a home. That's almost, actually that is in a lot of ways, that's a car payment on, you could go do an Audi Q5 for your daily. I mean, yeah, that's a payment on one of those. I mean, I've got, what is mine, a 21 Atlas, the VR6 loaded out R-Spec, and I paid less than the difference on that is per month for that vehicle. I've already broken down how all the financials work out and how all of this makes a lot more sense to purchase a car from CarMax, but what about trading your car in? Let's say that you just want to do what I do and stick with CarMax in general for all your vehicles. You got to sell it back to them. Now, when it comes to trading in a vehicle at CarMax, their offer is their offer. It's good for 7 days. It's pretty great. I like it a lot. So it allows you that little bit of time and window where you don't have a pissed off salesperson or used car buyer that's mad at you and going to screw you on the next car you buy just because you say, hey, I want to go down the street. They are perfectly fine with that. I've never had CarMax tell me, hey, you can't do that. They've just actually recommended places to go. So pretty cool how that works. When it comes to their appraisers, go look online at the job listings for appraisers in CarMax. It is a very high turnover job. Most of them are very green. It pays very entry-level salaries. And so they aren't trained mechanics. They are not plugging in a scan tool. They're not checking codes. They're not crawling underneath the vehicle, really. They're pretty much just looking it over from the outside, popping the hood, popping the doors, opening up the trunk, and just comparing it to Blue Book and saying, is it excellent, good, great, bad, poor? That's their grading. Like, whenever I worked with CarMax, there were vehicles that the appraiser thought, oh, they repainted the hood because of rock chips. No, that whole car was smashed in the front end and had about a $12,000 repair done on it. Insurance almost totaled it, and we bought the car, and guess what popped on the Carfax because the accident happened 5 months ago, and Carfax does not pop or show up until 6 months on average. If you go through insurance, if you pay out of pocket, it never shows up at all. And a lot of people don't realize that. They think it's pretty safe. It's not. Carfax is another whole system we can make a video on. This is great because for you as a seller, if you know that something is coming up or you're starting to hear a noise, but the warranty's out and you maybe let it go a little bit too long, you're really not obligated in any way, shape, or form to say anything about that because there's plausible deniability. So that's a way that people really game the system when trading cars in. It's all based off Blue Book. It's all fair market value. And quite honestly, for me, it allows me to then gauge the correct timing on when I should trade a vehicle in versus how much is paid off. And I've had vehicles I've owned for 2 years and been like, hey, let's dump it. Let's get rid of it. Right now's the time because they're hot, such as the Toyota Tacomas. I had one of those, traded it in while the truck was hot. I actually made a bunch of money on that truck versus what I bought it for. So there's a lot of ways to game that system. A little bit of a bonus hack here. If you have a household that has 2 vehicles in it, let's assume they're CarMax cars, keep them in rotation as far as the warranty expiration and whenever you purchase another vehicle. My wife and I, we both have CarMax vehicles. We have for the past 7-8 years at least. Always keep them in rotation with the MaxCare. I think we have like a 3-month spread between whenever we actually bought our cars. And so that way you've always got a vehicle that even if you're in a scenario in which you haven't decided what you want to buy next, one vehicle runs out of warranty, but you don't drive it that much, you just drive the other vehicle more that is covered by warranty, so you're always good as far as repairs are concerned. Then you've always kind of got that warranty bubble rotating and revolving across your vehicles. Ideally spread this out like 2.5 years if you're assuming a 5-year loan. But then you've always got a vehicle that's completely covered by warranty, totally good, nothing's going to happen to it, you're fine. And then your other vehicle can kind of be the vehicle that you continuously roll and play with. And then you've always got new cars. You're never both bored of your vehicle for too long. And I think that's a really fun way to game the system. The other thing here that I just realized, and don't know why I didn't include in the initial script of this video, is the fact that if you are in a CarMax car that is covered by MaxCare and you break down anywhere in the country that is near a CarMax, they will either pick your car up and tow it into the CarMax or cover it, because MaxCare covers that kind of thing. You get a loaner in a rental, and then whenever your car is done, they will then bring your car back to a CarMax near you on a transport truck, just like they do with all their inventory shuttling, and you're totally fine. For example, I've got a neighbor who, he bought a brand new F-150. That truck had transmission problems on it. Drove it to New Mexico from Colorado, broke down in New Mexico, had to drop it off at a dealer there, drive all the way back. Then he had to go back to pick the truck up, and then he had to drive it all the way back. CarMax just would have sent that truck back up here on a transport. Might have taken a few days extra, but he also wouldn't have had to come out of pocket for all that rental cost. He would have gotten that loaner just straight given to him, covered, whatever the case is, and it would have been a much easier process. And for me, having that peace of mind that we could road trip across the country, be completely on the East Coast, something happens to like our Volkswagen or my truck, and we're fine. We're gonna get back home. Our car's gonna get back to us. We don't have to worry about flying back out to drive it all the way back and all the drama. It's gonna be okay. And I think that just as a little bit of a peace of mind makes really the MaxCare worth it, in my opinion, because if you consider MaxCare on a 40,000 vehicle costing $3,000, I mean, how much is gonna be a flight back home or shipping your shit or renting a car and then coming back and then being out of pocket, not having your vehicle? For me, that's worth the cost of the stress right there. The big thing here, if you're not getting anything else out of this video, is just understand that you don't have to own a car forever. I used to be personally really stuck in this mindset. I would only buy enthusiast vehicles that I loved and I had to have, and it was gonna be my forever car and I was gonna pass it on to my kids, and that's just not cars anymore, right? That's just not how cars work. You're not passing along your 2020 Toyota Camry to your grandkids. That car's not gonna run that long. Maybe it will with a Toyota, but modern Toyotas not so much. You've gotta make warranties and equity and financing all work for you these days. You've gotta figure out how to game the system, learn the advantages of it, and make the right financial decisions so you can set yourself up in other aspects of life. If you've gotten any value out of this video at this point, let me know down below in the comments. And if you've got any other suggestions on videos we should make in the future kind of covering this topic, I've already kind of got the idea that maybe I should do a video on how to, actually appraise vehicle value and kind of gauge this time horizon a little bit. Let me know down below in the comments section. As always, thank you guys so much for your time. I greatly appreciate you watching. Please subscribe to this channel. I'll see you on the next video.